Unsolved.
The JonBenet Ramsey case, gingerbread houses, and a 911 call. The Christmas party got started around 5 p.m., and the guests enjoyed dinner, a visit from Santa, and decorating and creating their own gingerbread houses. And some of the guests that night were Fleet and Priscilla White, Priscilla's mother, Mrs. Brown, Priscilla's sister, Allison, and her boyfriend, Cliff Gaston, and then Allison's daughter, Heather, and her husband, Bill Cox, and of course their children, Daphne and Fleet Jr. And then there was the Barnhills from across the street, Joe and Betty. And then there were the Steins, Glenn and Susan, and their son, Doug. And then there was the Fernies, John and Barbara, and their two children. And then Linda Hoffman and her daughter. And of course, Santa Claus, Bill McReynolds, and his wife, Janet McReynolds. And Glenn Meyer from across the street, who was living in the Barnhills basement, stopped by for a short time to speak to Joe Barnhill. 911, what's your emergency? Hello? Someone there? The 911 call was described this way in the Ramsey's book, Death of Innocents. During the party, Fleet White used our phone to make a series of calls, trying to get some medicine to his mother in a hospital in Aspen, Colorado. Apparently, he dialed wrong and got 911. The police called back, but after checking with Fleet and the rest of the people in the house, Susan Stein informed them that the call was a mistake. The 911 call still remains somewhat of a mystery. This is 911. Did you call? An emergency call came into the Boulder Police Dispatcher at 6:47 p.m. The 911 caller hung up without a word. It was traced to 755 15th Street, where John and Patsy were throwing their annual Christmas party. A return call reached the Ramsey's answering machine. Then an officer was dispatched to the location, and he left at 7:09 after investigating the call. A misdialed long-distance call was the source of a 911 report from the Ramsey home 3 days before 6-year-old JonBenet was killed. Information regarding the 911 call surfaced this week, but there was no police report to identify why someone dialed the emergency number. A news release Friday, however, identified the 6:47 p.m. call as a dialing error by someone present during the Ramsey's Christmas party on December 23rd. The caller apparently hung up before speaking to a dispatcher, and a call back to the home resulted in an answer from the voicemail system. An officer was dispatched to the house 6 minutes later to ensure there was no emergency. No report was made of the incident. Police may have found an explanation for a 911 call placed from the home of JonBenet Ramsey 3 days before the 6-year-old was found strangled in the basement. According to the Washington Post, which quoted an unnamed source, Boulder police have been told the call was made by a drunken guest attending a Christmas party hosted by the child's parents. The Post reported Friday that the source close to the family described the call as irrelevant. The December 23rd call ended before the police dispatcher could talk to the person on the line. After calling back and getting voicemail, Police sent an officer to the home. According to police records examined Thursday by the Associated Press, the officer left minutes later and did not file a report. Now the story is Fleet White was trying to obtain some medicine for his mother, and he took notes on one of the writing pads at the Ramsey's house, and he left the party a little bit early, and he took the writing pad with him. Did Fleet White write the ransom note from that notepad and return Christmas night and left the pad and the ransom note on the stairs, and he's responsible for JonBenet's death? Well, this ends this episode of Unsolved, and the next episode will be Christmas night.